Welcome, beautiful. I'm Katie Shaw. I am a women's wellness and embodiment coach. And today I want to talk to you all about setting yourself up for success during the holidays. So, this week, if you live in the US, we have Thanksgiving coming up. And as you may know, um, holidays can be a little bit stressful. And, my first thought was, maybe I'll, share some recipes and, help out that way. But then I remembered when I was early on in my healing journey, how difficult, just emotionally and mindset wise it was. And I thought that I would provide just a little more support in that area because honestly, you can Google all the healthy Thanksgiving versions of recipes that you want, right? So, okay, let's talk about the 3 things I want to recommend to you today. All right. The first thing is this is the day of Thanksgiving, the day of the holiday, whatever holiday it is, right? The day of, you're going to set yourself up. I want you to create yourself a morning practice. So think about what really sets you up to have a great day, right? So spending time with yourself, just you by yourself alone in the morning is a great way to start. And this can look like if you're surrounded by family and you really can't get alone time, you can find alone time in the bathroom, you guys, okay? So maybe you take like 15 minutes longer or 20 minutes longer, and they might wonder what you're doing. But you know what? You're taking care of yourself, and that's all that matters. So find that extra time. And what you're going to do is, if you like to journal, you're going to journal. There's a practice called mind dump that I love, and it's basically taking all of your thoughts, all of your anxieties, your worries, your things that you're feeling anxious about for the day, and just getting it out of your mind and dumping it onto a paper. Sort of is like a stream of consciousness thing where you don't really think about it. You're not writing like, dear diary, da 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 da. You're just like spewing it out with no filter and just getting it out on paper, and really get out everything that's on your mind for that day. The second thing within your morning practice can look like an embodiment practice that I'm going to show you right now. So when you give your nervous system 2 points on your body to focus on, it actually goes into what's called the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest state of your nervous system. So when you practice this, it automatically sends your nervous system into a calmer, more peaceful state. And yes, you can do this in the morning, but honestly, anytime during the day that you feel overwhelmed, you need a break, take yourself to the bathroom and do this practice. Okay, so you're going to take one hand, could be your right hand, and place it on your heart. And then you're going to take your opposite hand and place it on your forehead. Now, you're going to breathe. You're going to close your eyes here in this position. You're going to breathe through your nose and just bring in your mind's eye the focus to the hand on your heart. And just notice it touching your skin and become present to even feeling your heartbeat. And then become aware of your hand on your forehead. And just notice it touching your skin. And just breathing regularly here. And now I'd like you to notice the distance between your 2 hands. And here in this mudra, as it's called in yoga, you are reminding your body that you have your back, that you are holding your body, you've got your nervous system, and it's possible to feel safe. And in this position, it's okay to feel safe and relaxed. And you might just, notice a little shift in how maybe you felt before to how you might feel now. And your body's natural response to just gently ease into that space of safety and calm and resting. Good. And you can release your hands when you're ready, or you can keep them there for the rest of this call, or this video rather. So that, like I said, that's a practice that you can turn to any time throughout the day. And I really recommend being, as present without distraction when you do that practice as possible. If you have a little one running around that you're also responsible for, that's okay. Do it however you can. But if you can find that quiet time in the morning, really, really recommend. Okay, and then the next tip that I have for you today is to set boundaries. Beloved boundaries, right? So how do you do that when you feel overwhelmed, when maybe there's that person that you know that you have to see that always triggers you and says the things that, right, like get under your skin, and they just know how to set you off? Well, you're going to set yourself up before the day happens, okay? You're going to hold true to your boundaries and hold true to yourself. Now, I don't know your situation, so I can't really give you specifics, but what I would recommend with those boundaries is remembering to breathe. So in the moments that you feel triggered, breathing and taking a deep breath and space. So providing some space away from that person. So going again to the wonderful bathroom, your safety place, wherever that is, and just remove yourself from the situation and go back to this, holding yourself or breathing and taking a moment to even, consider why, what it is that you're feeling triggered about and what's really going on underneath of that. And really question, like, is it really about what they said, or is it possibly about something that it's making you look at for yourself that perhaps maybe is an unhealed emotion or trauma within you? And and then also consider, is it just the other person projecting onto you something that is within themselves that they just don't know how to express otherwise? And most likely that's often the case. So if you can be in that moment and remind yourself, because when you have an autoimmune issue, when you have inflammation happening in the body, the last thing that you want is to activate more stress. And when you trigger stress in the body, when you have a stressful experience and your nervous system and your cortisol, everything gets set off, this also directly affects your immune system, and it directly affects your progress and your healing, and it can even trigger an immune response, a flare-up of your autoimmune condition. So I really encourage you to connect to these embodiment practices as much as you can to really support you throughout the day. And so the third piece of advice that I want to give you today is around food. And you might often get, because I certainly used to get this, and I still do, when people say, oh, just have a bite. Like what's one bite gonna hurt, right? And they don't really understand the difference between let's say, a diet to lose weight and a diet for healing, or a sensitivity or intolerance to a food, right? Because the difference is, yeah, if you're dieting to lose weight, eating one thing is really not that big of a deal. But then on the other hand, if you're eating to heal or you're avoiding certain foods because you have an autoimmune response to it or an immune response to it, then that could mean, you feeling really bad for a week, 2 weeks after, and it's not just a little thing to just be discarded and just to be set aside and to say, just have a bite, like what's one bite of gluten gonna hurt you? Like just have a bite of the cake, right? And some people just can't get past that. They just can't really understand it. And that's because they've never had that experience themselves. They've never really, you know, had to avoid a certain food because of a reaction. Like they've never had to have that experience. So again, bringing patience back in, but also your non-negotiables. So, what are the things that you're just not willing to compromise on when it comes to food and also even emotional things, right? Those are the emotional boundaries we talked about before. But non-negotiables for food look like when your grandmother, is pressuring you, oh, eat the cake, and you feel bad because you try to explain to her, I can't eat this. It doesn't, makes me sick. But then she's like, oh, just have a bite. Like what's one bite gonna hurt you? Just have it. I made it. And you kind of feel guilty because a lot of people express their love through food. Um, and so there comes a little bit of guilt, like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, right? But if you go in with a non-negotiable knowing that your top priority is to care for yourself that day and in that environment, and you're not going to waver on that particular thing because you know that it will make you feel unwell, um, and set you back, that is your top priority. And also it's also, a perspective shift too. Instead of saying, like I can't eat the pumpkin pie, the regular pumpkin pie, like I can't eat it. I feel like an outcast. Everybody else is enjoying it. Find the other things that are you might be grateful for that day. The other things maybe outside of food that fulfill you. Maybe you're grateful to be with your family. Maybe you're grateful that perhaps that you are surrounded by people who love and care about you, even though they might not understand the requirements that you have now, but they still love you. And finding gratitude in something other than the food. And then also a perspective shift on, I can't have that too. I choose not to have that because I'm taking care of my body and that's my non-negotiable. I'm taking care of my body, period. And I only eat what, supports my healing and what supports my body in getting well. So those are your 3 tips for today. Okay, so we have a morning practice, we have our boundaries, and then we have our non-negotiables for food and for the way that you're going to show up and take care of yourself. Okay. All right, guys. I wish you the best and a beautiful holiday. And I would love to hear in the comments if this is helpful. And if you are able to put these things in practice, I would love, 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 love to hear your discoveries. Okay.